Jai. 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 Jai.
Sri Guru Vandana. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace we can prostrate and deal suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the birth and making from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prayer emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures seem to be character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at the lotus feet. Padita Pavana Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Zu dem mal anfangen. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha
bist schnell gewesen. Kannst du abstellen? Das? Ich kann das nicht gerne. Stadionlicht. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunati Ravanachari Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stuttara Shata Shrimad Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Hare Krishna, Nadi Gauranga. Now we are complete again. Krishna Prema is missing. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 24. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tritatanurusati me purani. Tritatanurusati me purani. Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Tritatanurusati me purani. Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram. Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha. Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Please chant. Tanurushati me purani.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra.
Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Tritatanurusati me purani.
Tritatanurusati me purani.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha.
Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra.
Mataji's. Dritatanurusati me purani. Yeneha Sattvam Paramam Pavitram. Shamodama Satyam Anugrahascha. Tapastitikṣanubhavascha yatra. Trita, maintained by transcendental education.
Maintained by transcendental education.
Tanu, body.
Body.
Ushati, free from material contamination.
Free from material contamination.
Me, my. Purani, eternal.
Eternal.
Yena, by whom? Iha, in this material world.
In this material world.
Sattvam, the mode of goodness.
The mode of goodness.
Paramam, supreme.
Supreme.
Pavitram, purified.
Purified.
Shamaha, control of the mind.
Control of the mind.
Damaha, control of the senses.
Control of the senses.
Satyam, truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
Anugraha, mercy.
Mercy.
Cha,
Cha.
and.
And.
Tapaha,
Tapaha.
austerity.
Austerity.
Titiksha,
Tiksha.
tolerance.
Tolerance.
Anubhavaha,
Bhava.
realization of God and the living entity.
Realization of God and the living entity.
Cha,
Cha.
and.
And.
Yatra,
Yatra.
wherein.
Wherein.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Gun. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is a true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. He speaks the true version of all the Vedas. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya. By studying all the Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna. One who actually assimilated the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. He is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering the threefold miseries of this conditioned world due to their not being Krishna conscious. A Brahmana should take pity on the people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into this universe from the spiritual kingdom to teach conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender unto him. Similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. After assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. The Brahmanas are very dear to the Supreme Lord due to their high sattva gun qualities, and they also engage in welfare activities for all conditioned souls in the material world. End of purport. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitang Yena Bhutale Swayang Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Tvang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatyade Shatarine. Trita tanurushati me purani yeneha sattvam paramam pavitram shamodama satyam anugrahascha tapasti tikshanubhavascha yatra. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Gun. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Sama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Hare Krishna. So this is the last verse in this teachings of Lord Rishabdev to his sons, where? No, not the last. There will be one more. Where he's speaking about the glories of the Brahmanas. So we heard in the previous verses already about the glories of the Brahmanas. And Srila Prabhupada in the first sentence of the purport, he says this is a true description of a Brahmana. And he then, as usual, elaborates, and in the verse itself it speaks about the 8 qualities of a Brahmana, which we also find in Bhagavad Gita. So these are quite clearly established. And Srila Prabhupada then in the purport explains, and what comes really out is how the essence of a Brahmana is that he is preaching. Hare Krishna. Preaching is the essence. No? Prabhupada established that. And I think we can try to speak a little bit about this. Why is preaching the essence? Because soon we have also the book distribution marathon, which is one form of preaching, and we can inspire ourselves. Today also is the Sankirtan Saturday. This fact that the preaching is really the essence of a Brahmana, or the essence of a... Because what Rishabdev, who is no other than Krishna, he established in these verses, previously he went through all the different life forms. He said the inanimate objects, then the from the living entities, those who can move, etc., etc. He went up to the human being, and then to the demigods, and then he said, and I'm the supreme, and then he says, and I'm also dedicated to the Brahmanas. In this way he establishes the Brahmanas. And somehow when I read through these verses, the thought that came to me prominently was, why is Krishna always stressing the Brahmanas so much, and to really try to understand this in a deeper way? And of course Prabhupada, he gives the answer in his purport. We know the story of Mahaprabhu when he traveled to Gaya, I think to Gaya. Then on the way, he was not alone, but I thought he went alone to Gaya, maybe not. But anyway, on the way close to Gaya, there was some Brahmanas which behaved very... His associates couldn't understand how are these brahmanas, because they behaved in a different way that they were used to in Navadvip. And Mahaprabhu could pick that up. He could sense that his associates, they are in a way having an inappropriate attitude to the brahmanas, and he manifested this pastime of getting sick. And then he told them, you have to bring me the water that washed the feet of the brahmanas, only that will cure. And so his associates went to these brahmanas, and I think it was anyway, in some way he wanted something, and then in this way established that the brahmanas are always to be respected and worshipped, even if we might not be able to understand them. Of course, in the scriptures and here in this verse itself, there has to be a qualification. It's not a word. Chaturvarnam maya srishtam guna karma vibhaga sha. That guna and karma has to be in place in order to be a brahmana. It's not that I'm born into a brahmana family and now I'm a brahmana. And Krishna, he established that time and time again, that the brahmanas are the highest and to be worshipped. So I was thinking, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samohang sarva bhuteshu, that he's equal to everyone. And he's not envying anyone, nobody is especially dear to him, but still he mentions that these brahmanas are so dear to him. And Prabhupada explains why, because Krishna, he has this desire that the people in this world, they are being delivered. So Krishna comes again, as Rishabdev, as Ramachandra, as Krishna, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and only for one purpose, to help the conditioned souls. And he does that by, on one hand, destroying the asuras, and on the other hand, he's attracting the righteous ones by performing his lila. And especially the Vrindavan lila, he's performing to attract the living entities. And then Mahaprabhu, same, he came to preach the Sankirtan Yugadharma. So that's his desire, and that comes because Krishna is very compassionate. In the Nectar of Devotion, there is 64 qualities mentioned of the Lord, and one quality which is distinctly mentioned is compassion. And I'm going to read from the Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada gives, based on Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he gives a very nice insight why Krishna is compassionate. And we see also how human beings are compassionate, and even animals, other living entities. And we know that these qualities are found in every living entity, but in a very minute extent. But in the Lord, they are unlimited. So Prabhupada, he defines what is compassion. A person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. Krishna's compassion for distressed persons was exhibited when he released all of the kings imprisoned by Magadendra. While dying, Grandfather Bhishma prayed to Krishna and described him as the sun which eradicated darkness. The kings imprisoned by Magadendra were put into dark cells, and when Krishna appeared there, the darkness immediately disappeared, just as if the sun had risen. In other words, although Magadendra was able to imprison so many kings, upon the appearance of Krishna, they were all released. Krishna released the kings out of his sincere compassion for them. Krishna's compassion was also exhibited when Grandfather Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows which had been shot through his body. While lying in this position, Bhishma was very anxious to see Krishna, and thus Krishna appeared there. Upon seeing the pitiable condition of Bhishma, Krishna began speaking with tears in his eyes. Not only was he shedding tears, but he also forgot himself in his compassion. So these are examples how Krishna is manifesting that compassionate nature. And now Prabhupada explained something which is very deep, and we're just going to read it because I'm not... We can try to maybe speak, but it's deep in the sense that it's a little bit hard to comprehend. Therefore, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. So Radharani is the one, and we pray Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada explained that this Mahamantra is nothing else but a cry to Mother Hara, Srimati Radharani, who is the energy of the Lord and who will connect us to the Lord. So Krishna is the omnipotent, and as the omnipotent he has all the potencies, and Radharani is his compassion potency personified. She is the pleasure potency personified and the most compassionate. And so the fact that Krishna comes to this world and shows his compassion is also due to this energy, naturally, because that's his compassion energy, and Srimati Radharani is the personification. And when speaking about this preaching now, how the Brahmanas, they also manifest that quality of being compassionate, we find another, I don't know if I can find it so briefly, it's also mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada, that the Mahatmanas tu mamparta daivim prakritim ashrita, that the Mahatmanas, and the Brahmana is a Mahatma, he is taking shelter of that potency, the internal potency, and Prabhupada says Srimati Radharani. So the Brahmanas, they manifest all these qualities by the mercy of Srimati Radharani. She is the internal potency. And that is found in the verse itself. Prabhupada says the Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Gun. They are situated in the spiritual nature, diving Prakriti Mashrita. And that's where this empowerment comes. That's where the living entities who are so pure, they get this nature to be compassionate, and they preach. So that is something, when we speak about preaching, to remember and keep in mind and understand that preaching is based on compassion, and that's what will... Prabhupada said preaching is the essence, but then he said purity is the force. So what will make the preaching happen is the purity, spiritual potency. We see preaching can be done in different ways, but a person who is really a preacher, he will not preach one time and then another time he will stop preaching. He will always preach. And that's something else that comes out in the purport. Prabhupada speaks 3 times, he mentions the word to assimilate. the Brahmanas, they have assimilated the knowledge, and by assimilating that, they take up this nature, they become spiritual, and then they actually can preach. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. And we can also look at it, why are we here today? What is the reason why we got the mercy of Krishna consciousness? And we see how Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West and he spread Krishna consciousness. And that's how we got the mercy. And why? Because his spiritual master, he preached and he instructed his disciples to do that. And Bhaktisiddhanta's guru, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was also doing the same thing. And it all starts with, of course, in our parampara, but especially with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then again, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's Krishna taking up the mood of Srimati Radharani, becoming the most compassionate personality. And we see also in all of our acharyas, in their pranams, you find this aspect of Gaura so prominent. In Prabhupada, Gauravani Pracharine. So he was preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. It's always, Mahaprabhu is the driving force, and Mahaprabhu is none different than Srimati Radharani's compassionate nature. So if we really want to be good preachers, and we can be it as book distributors, or we can do it in many different ways, to give Krishna to others, we have to take shelter of Srimati Radharani. And we do that by chanting, primarily. And if she empowers us, how does she empower us? She will give us Krishna. She will give us this Krishna consciousness. And that will fill you that will fill one so much that you're completely happy and overwhelmed, and you want to give Krishna to others. So that's the simple dynamics. Srimati Radharani, she gives Krishna consciousness. And then when one has Krishna consciousness, one can give it. Prabhupada, and this would be a little bit on what Srila Prabhupada mentions in this verse, how a Brahmana, he has to assimilate, he has to become realized, and then he can preach, and then he can help. And that sometimes can be one approach, that we have to first become perfect, and then we can preach. But Srila Prabhupada gave us a different approach. By preaching also, we become pure. But how can I preach if I'm not Krishna conscious? And that's the wonderful arrangement which was being made by Bhaktisiddhanta, and especially then expanded by Srila Prabhupada, who invented the Brihad Mridanga, the book press. So to give Krishna means it has to be pure kirtan. And Brihad Mridanga means a mridanga, which a mridanga is always assisting the kirtan. It's not that it's about the mridanga, but it's about the holy name. Nowadays sometimes we feel it's probably the other way around. The mridanga becomes more important, but it's supposed to be that the holy name, which is not different from Krishna, when chanted purely, that's what changes the consciousness of the living entity. And Bhaktisiddhanta understood that the pure words can be put on a paper, and by printing that, then everyone can distribute the pure kirtan. Maybe I'm not pure, but I can distribute the pure kirtan. and I can help others. And we have this experience now in our few years of practicing preaching. Some of the devotees who come to the temple now, maybe we personally gave them a book, but it's not me who actually gave them Krishna consciousness. It was Srila Prabhupada, and I'm just assisting. And even though I'm not pure myself, I'm not a Brahmana, I can become an instrument, and by doing that, then again I can cultivate. What Srila Prabhupada says, to assimilate this means to already do that, to preach means to assimilate it slowly. And this should be encouraging for us. We shouldn't wait till tomorrow to preach, but we can start now. And we just have to maintain this purity, and we do it by being Krishna conscious, by chanting, by taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. So I wanted to just end with one verse which I came across yesterday, and in respect to how we actually assist Srila Prabhupada in his preaching, which is such a beautiful thing also, that Prabhupada, who left physically, but for the next hundreds, thousands of years, devotees will be assisting him in his preaching. And here is a verse in the 4th canto, which Prithu Maharaj speaks to the Kumaras. How can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence? So you can already hear, Prabhupada always makes it so clear, know what actually is real welfare work. He says, with complete conviction and Vedic evidence. So that's the real kirtan, if somebody is really convinced. Not like a parrot, but really. So how can such persons be repaid except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. It reminds you of something, this verse? Yeah, it's the same thing, no? How Krishna is saying, I cannot repay the gopis because they are doing such a spotless service. And that we hear again and again. How can we attain the goal which is mentioned in our scriptures, to go to Vrindavan, especially as a most intimate servant of Krishna? We have to already practice here. And so Prabhupada gives that example, that one who becomes such a personality to give Krishna to others, it's a similar, that's the mood, that's the how we actually cultivate it here already. We have to cultivate it here. We cannot go there unless we have it within us. And now in the purport I'm going to read a little bit because Prabhupada makes it more clear. Great personalities of the material world are very eager to render welfare service to human society. But actually no one can render better service than one who distributes the knowledge of spiritual realization in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living entities are within the clutches of the illusory energy. Forgetting their real identity, they hover in material existence, transmigrating from one body to another in search of a peaceful life. Since these living entities have very little knowledge of self-realization, they are not getting any relief, although they are very anxious to attain peace of mind and some substantial happiness. Saintly persons, as well as their followers of such authorities as the Vaishnavacharyas and their servants, can render a valuable service to humanity by disseminating knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. Such knowledge is the perfect benediction for humanity. Knowledge of Krishna is such a great gift that it is impossible to repay the benefactor. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj requested the Kumaras to be satisfied by their own benevolent activities in delivering souls from the clutches of Maya. The king saw that there was no other way to satisfy them for their exalted activities. The word Vinoda Patram can be divided into two words, Vina and Uda Patram. One can be understood as one word. Vinoda Patram, which means choker. A choker's activities simply arouse laughter, and a person who tries to repay the spiritual master or teacher of the transcendental message of Krishna becomes a laughing stock, just like a choker, because it is not possible to repay such a debt. The best friend and benefactor of all people is one who awakens humanity to its original Krishna consciousness. And by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, we are doing the first step, most for many, to awaken them. But the awakening process is much more than that. That's why we also have to cultivate these qualities. Otherwise, we also can do harm. We can try to give Krishna consciousness, but then because we are impure, we become also an obstacle for conditioned souls to take on to Krishna consciousness. And the good thing also is that these qualities can easily be cultivated by doing book distribution. Tolerance, penance, mercy. We have to be somehow merciful. Sense control, mind control. The book distributors know how you actually need these qualities, otherwise you cannot do that service. So, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. If you have any comments, especially the preachers, then now is the time. Yes, Prabhu.
I just spoke on this Sunday with one devotee. He is guru from 2001, and I was asking about is that your guru teach you mostly about inner cultivation or about also external activities? And we can see like many times in like Prabhupada gave to us all this together. I mean, like we do Srimad Bhagavatam classes in temple, we read Prabhupada books, and then we go to preach. But sometimes people think that they just artificially trying to make this inner cultivation in such a way that they think I will achieve prema and then after I will go to preach. But actually it's recommended that all this Shravanam and Kirtanam should be together, because like Shravanam we learn something, in Kirtanam then we trying to glorify Krishna in different ways. Even it can be very simple, like we know about that the soul, about simple things, because people in this world they don't know about this. And we just go to them and say this. And when we say this, we can gradually become from like Kanisha to Madhyama. We can understand that who is devotee, who is not devotee, who is atheist. Yeah, and I mean like this process like what Prabhupada gave to us very helpful. Yeah. And I would like to ask.
Can I just say something to that?
Yes.
In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which establishes what we are actually doing, one thing that becomes very clear in the sadhana practice, before he even goes into different kinds of sadhana, is what is the essence? It's about remembering Krishna. And he quotes that verse, no, that's another one, the famous, the rules, the king of all rules. And I was reading a lecture of Bhaktisiddhanta he gave at Radhakund. When we were at Radhakund, I read it. And he's making one point that you can only remember the Lord by doing Shravanam and Kirtanam nicely. And when you said that, no, we have to somehow we cannot just hear and hear and hear, but he said you need to do kirtan. You need to speak what you heard, and then the memory will come. And that is our practice. So I just wanted to share that. And yeah, book distribution is one way how we do kirtan, and how we see how when we do it, our own memory, our own conviction gets nourished and strengthened. Please, yeah.
I think this word assimilated is actually about this. Assimilate, it means like, realize. We have to like do the both. Listen from proper source, from through parampara, and then give to others. And then we can like really assimilate, understand, and then we can become these brahmanas who really very dear to Krishna. I mean, of course, there are different also kind of brahmanas, different levels, like Kanishta, Madhyama, maybe level of Kanishta, they not able to preach maximum worship Krishna, it's also fine. But actually, it's important that Father was recommending that you have to grow from Kanishta to Madhyama. Otherwise, it can be also difficult, because if you long time remain Kanishta, then some anarthas and so on can maybe lead to deviation. You could actually can become like smarter brahman, you know. You emphasize so much on the rituals and this, and strange details was actually not so much important. And because of this, when we try to preach, to share knowledge, when we become really dear to Krishna, yeah, we assist him, we can hear, assist him, because it's his desire, we understand his desire, we want to share.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. And it also reminds me, therefore we should always keep preaching in the first place. Preaching is the essence of our movement. Why? Because it's the essence of what we try to achieve. The Brajabasis are constantly preaching about Krishna and sharing Krishna consciousness. And there is this 4 point of preaching is the essence, purity is the force, books are the basis, and utility is the principle. If preaching is at the forefront, then everything else will become clear. And you said no, to become smarta and all these details. And Prabhupada was very practical, because he knew preaching is the essence, and everything else has to follow, and we shouldn't lose ourselves in all kinds of details. Hare Krishna, thank you for your attention. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.